In the wild, it's a sprint. The app is a marathon.
With my extensive background and the thousands of people I've coached, rejection is still hard. You cannot receive something new with a closed fist. You have to allow yourself to fully let go.
Women have this creative element where they will take 2 breadcrumbs and they'll make a loaf of sourdough. You need to take the time up front to grieve the death of a relationship. And the hurt always comes up later. It's had time to fester and manifest in very ugly, unproductive ways, even if that's not your intention.
You don't know what's around the corner until you take the corner.
Every commitment is a decision. Even the commitment to match with someone on an app or go on a first date. Episode 10, dude. We've hit 10.
10.
What's that statistic? Most podcasts don't make it past 10. So I guess we'll see if we get to 11 or not.
Yeah.
90% of podcasts. For those of you who haven't been with us before, this is Wife or Bust, where we are on a journey to get this man, Joel, a wife. And originally it started out with Hinge, but we've expanded it. We're still using Hinge to search for his wife. We're talking about international crushes. We got people IRL in the wild, and we are following all of his prospects, all of his experiences, the good and bad and the ugly and everything in between, the beautiful. I don't know why it's just ugly at the beginning of that phrase. But last time, what we ended on, Joel has some connections, some sparks across the globe. We're here in Austin, but he's got some interests in Australia and in Italy and some things going on right here in Austin. So not only are we going to catch up on that, we talked about a rule or a principle called the 2-timer, which is a follow-up rule for when you don't hear back from a date. So we're going to hear about updates on all these things. And I might even have something to share, even though you're in the hot seat. So
it's going to turn today.
We're gonna get to all that. The reverse Uno of Wife or Bust. Man, I literally know nothing. Sometimes going into this, I have a little update and I know what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
So my first question was about the 2-timer rule, about following up twice when you hear nothing, because you just be really surprised what people have going on. And so not being presumptuous is a great way to sometimes land a really good date, because some of the really high caliber people are busy people.
Yeah.
So have you followed up? And that was a Hinge match, correct?
Yeah.
Tell us a little about that. What's evolved?
Two Hinge matches. One that I reached back out to, and to what we talked about in the previous episode, is coming in and being more assertive and direct and saying, hey, listen, this is the deal. I'm interested. If you're not, no big deal. No harm, no foul. But as Wayne Gretzky says, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
And Michael Scott says that too in The Office.
I heard that.
So you did that?
Did that, nothing back. Yeah.
And that would that be the first of the 2-timers?
That'd be the first.
Okay, so you're going to follow up again this coming week probably.
Yeah.
You don't seem too excited about it.
Yeah, it's the way that I sent that last message was pretty like, hey,
cut and dry.
Like, I don't know if I skipped I would say the first time tap.
The soft.
I just went straight in. It was just like, hey, listen. And, who knows? I was talking to my brother about this the other day. She matched with somebody else. She's dating somebody else. She's busy. She's on vacation. Whatever the case is.
Yeah.
But we never initially even started a conversation. I sent, she liked, she accepted. I sent a message, no response. Sent another one, no response. At this point, it seemed like it could have been a really good match, and maybe it will be down the road. There was a lot of synchronicities. Thank you. In her profile and what she was talking about, I was just very intrigued. Very beautiful woman, beautiful brunette, incredible smile. She had a picture of her wearing a cowboy hat. She had a picture of her holding a horse, like the rope of a horse. God was important to her. Health was important to her. So a lot of different things that really lined up.
I was going to say, it sounds like your type.
Yeah, totally. And was excited about that. Didn't come through yet. Yet. So that was one. And then another one I've gotten in contact with. This is a woman here who's in Austin. She works at a church, so we know that it covers the God part of it 100%. We've had some really good conversations. We were talking, and then there was nothing. It was just a ghost. And so I followed back up, and she reached back out, and we're supposed to plan something this weekend.
And that's the summary of what's on the Hinge side of things.
That's it.
So
beyond that, I haven't been engaging in Hinge a ton. I've almost, I've lost a little bit of a, like, mojo.
Yeah.
In Hinge. I mean, haven't been on it a ton. Really coming back to that, like having, basically two people that I'm talking to. It does like limit the excitement, because if I'm not hearing from them, I'm not hearing from them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then I might forget to go to Hinge for a couple of days. Maybe they message back, and so it's just kind of like a draw back and forth kind of thing. So just continuing to feel out what the best way is to again be within Hinge with integrity and intention. Yeah. And sometimes to take the integrity and intention road, it's a little bit longer of a road and route. And if that means it's going to take a while, I'm okay with that. I just was feeling unsettled before. Not that I was having a ton of women that I was talking to, but I could tell that my attention was drawn elsewhere. And now I'm noticing it in some other conversations that I have with women on Hinge. It's like, oh, they engage, and then they're out. Yeah. I actually, I don't think I told you this, on Hinge, there's a woman that reached back out after a month. And, said hi. And I was just like, you know what? I haven't used this one yet, which is basically saying, I wrote this out and said, hey, listen, right now I'm on a show called Wife or Bust. This is what I'm doing. I just want to be upfront with you. I know we haven't talked in a month. If this is something that you're interested in, awesome. But I wanted to be upfront with you from the very beginning. If you want to check it out, you can go check it out. I'm completely open. Oh, whoa. And so she went and looked at one of the episodes, and then engaged and started asking some questions, and actually some decent like conversation. But interesting strategy. But then she went dark again. Oh, really? I have a lot of thoughts on this. There's a lot to say about the apps, and it's like, yes, in real life and in the wild, it's hard. It takes more courage in the moment to approach a woman, and your heart's, beating out of your chest. So the app is easier from like an access and an effort standpoint, but it's harder because it's like, in the wild, it's a sprint. The app is a marathon. I'm not a marathon runner, and at least in real life. And there's some projects that are marathons that I've enjoyed. But even though I believe that Hinge can be used really well, and it's worked well for me, I mean, that's how I'm dating Mallory, the girl that I've been dating for 7 months now, that we'll talk about more later in the episode. But it's hard sometimes. So what I noticed with the guys I work with, and I was writing a book about this and other things, is that there's a slump. And it hits at different times, but typically for guys, it seems like the first kind of, oh, this is getting more of like dragging on. It's like a little bit of drudgery. It's after the first few months of being on the apps. So I wonder if this is your first slump. And it's okay to be on it less. And in fact, I think, especially if you're interested in a couple people, you're getting deeper, it's natural to push new prospects or new opportunities to the sides. But I think there'll be this natural like roller coaster, or maybe ebb and flow sounds a little less harsh, of like where you're like, oh, if these interests don't go anywhere, I'll go back to the drawing board, and kind of have this piston movement that I think is very natural. But I'm glad that you shared that, because, I think a lot of people who watch the show, whether this is the first episode they're seeing or the 10th, there's like this feeling, it's like, oh wow, Joel and Chris are really excited about this. But it's like, it's not always exciting. Sometimes you got this these periods where you don't know if the mojo is on, people aren't getting back to you, and you're like, is this me? Is this them? Oh man. But one of the things that you brought up that I think is so important for us to touch on is there could be a million reasons, like your brother said, of why someone doesn't respond to you. Right. So it's not up to you to figure out the why. It's up to you to accept that you don't know. And that's super tough. But like this woman, for example, who got back to you after a month, and maybe another month when you hear from her. There's a lot of women like that, because they're, experiencing their own slumps in the dating app. Typically it's inundation, but it could be just like, wow, there's no guys on here. I hear this all the time when I talk to women.
there's no guys in here that are dating with integrity. Where are the good guys at? Like these kinds of questions.
Right.
And I think they get discouraged, and the result is similar, that they're on the app less, but it's from a different origin. So yeah, I'm not surprised at all that this is what you are, experiencing. And then the other thing that came up were two things: ghosting and when to unmatch. I don't think we've talked about this. When I was on Hinge, my system was, if I did the 2-timer rule, right? So typically we match, and then I guess it's a total of 3 weeks later. If I didn't match with someone, or they didn't, respond after we matched, I'd unmatch them just to keep my matches clear. And so you limit yourself to a few conversations. I was like 5 to 7 conversations, even though I would only actively date one woman at a time, like take her out on dates. But I also was like, I had not even like a limit in terms of how many matches I would keep, but I was always around like 10 to 12. And it helped me siphon my attention to the things that I was more excited about. And even though I don't want to assume anything, I don't think it's worth fighting uphill against timing. Yeah. And I'm also I'm really quick response even though I leave my phone on do not disturb, twice a day, I will message back people I care about, typically. Right. I hope that doesn't out me out to anyone watching who doesn't hear back from me in a day. But I just exposed myself. But I really think that if people are interested, you probably would hear from them in a timely manner. And so that's just something else is like, okay, we always talk about natural filters that we don't have to think about, they don't have to think about, and just use them to our advantage. That might be one of those, you know? Yeah. And then the ghosting piece, that one's tough because you just never know. And you just wonder about it. And you're like, I put myself out there.
That's right.
But it's a them thing, not a you thing. And if it's a you thing, it's probably incompatibility anyway,
It's, I can understand the average person, how they, and I say average very loosely, I've trained a lot when it comes to personal acceptance, internal to external. I've had a lot of coaches. I've done a lot of therapies. I've done a lot of different programs. And with my extensive background and the thousands of people I've coached, rejection is still hard. And if we have a poor story around no, and no is they ghost you. No is them saying, I'm closing the loop. No is not getting back to you. If we have a poor story around no, we might start internalizing it or externalizing it. Internalizing it, it must be me. I'm terrible. I'm not good enough. See, this is why I shouldn't be on this app, right? This is never going to work. Or external, oh, see, men are like, they don't date with intention. All these women are just fluttery. They say they want an intentional man, but they always ghost. Learning how to be able to receive that no with a smile on your face is essential, right? Because I tell people, you cannot receive something new with a closed fist. So if we're trying to hold on to something, no matter what it is in your life, for this, holding on to the hope that somebody's going to get back to you. If I'm holding on to something, it's impossible for me to receive something new because my fist is closed. I have to be able to let it go.
Yeah.
And so if that's because I'm choosing to let go or someone has closed the loop on me, what you have to do is you have to go, okay, I let it go. I let it go. And it's not them. It's not me. It's just the scenario and situation, incompatibility. It's not the right timing. We have to have a bigger trust beyond like just within ourselves. We've done a really good job through this entire show of being able to teach people, hey, represent you in the best authentic way possible, exactly who you are. That's your best bet in not only the app, but life in general. Be authentic. And when you're authentic, you get to shine your particular light or have your particular frequency, and somebody's going to hear it or see it and go, dang, there's something that just immediately pulls me to that individual. And so when it comes to these no's, because with the other two, those both loops were closed in the past week. So the international crush.
There are no more international connections.
The real life one here, closed. Bang, bang, just like that.
We were, by we, I mean me, so hopeful.
Yeah,
Or I wouldn't say hopeful. I was like really interested to be like, are you going to go to Australia?
Yeah.
Are you going to go to Italy? Are you going to get them to come over?
Sure.
You're at one of your, coaching clients. You're like, well, after we're done with coaching, which is months from now, is there going to be something? All three of those loops closed. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
Plot twist, dude.
I know. And it was interesting the other day. I very visually remember this. I was sitting in the elevator. I was going down to my truck and I was like, oh shoot, I'm sad. And it was a moment of recognizing something I'm really proud of is one, recognizing the sadness. That was grieving. That there was these people in my life who are no longer, right? And I teach in my program, like, you have to allow yourself to fully let go. It's the death of.
Mm-hmm.
And when you go, no, that's the death of that, something new can be birthed out of it. Now that might mean that same person, but a new relationship. But we have to go, I put that fully to rest and I'm not trying to dig up old bones. And I recognize that and just allowed myself to grieve in that day of going, man, there was a lot of excitement and a lot of potential there. And it makes me sad that that connection is no longer there. And with the first one, the Australian, I told her, I said, she already watched the first episode. And then I told her, I said, hey, I actually talked to you about you on the last episode. And so she went and watched it. And she was like, you spoke so kindly about me. Like I felt like so honored. I felt like I was a celebrity. Like here I am on the show and you're talking about me, and was saying all these really beautiful things. Like you've been so kind to me and treated me so well and have created such a safe space for me. And I feel so comfortable around you. And I'm like, okay. And she was like, but then I heard you talk about that other woman who's in your life. And you said she checked all the boxes and, I have a relationship with God, but I'm not like that strong in my faith or have that belief. And was starting to make up these different things of why she wasn't a good fit for me. And I was sitting there and she was chatting me about this and said, wow, this really seems like there's a lot of projecting going on here. Like, is it like, are you okay with this? She was like, I just feel like I'm, restricting you from being able to, pursue what's best for you. And of course, in my mind, I'm like, oh, no, you're not. Like, why would you?
Did you tell her that?
I can't remember if I said or suggested that. I don't remember. But I did bring up the facts of like, I feel like this is projecting. And then I even told her, I was like, I already closed the loop on the other woman.
Yeah.
And she was like, you just seem like ready and it's like now and like, like you want kids. And I said, yeah, I know what I want. That doesn't mean that that's what I'm going to get right now. And I'm patient to be able to get what's right.
Yeah.
And eventually I just said, hey, are you closing the loop? And she kind of paused and she's like, yeah, I guess I am. I said, do you guess or are you closing the loop? And she went, I'm closing the loop. I said, okay, thank you for letting me know.
Damn, dude.
And we said goodbye and that was it. And I made sure even with that, it wasn't like, hey, goodbye, I'll talk to you soon. It was just purely goodbye.
Yeah.
And my heart was heavy. My heart was heavy on that because we really got into a groove of like talking to each other daily. And, she was having trouble sleeping. So I sent her a couple different sleep casts. And we were connecting on different stuff, and she was supposed to send me coffee. Like we were getting closer and closer, and it was a really nice feeling. And the loop is closed.
Well, even with the sadness and like the death of what could be, there's just, and the irony behind what we'll talk about on my side of things, as well as something that I wrote and posted today, was about like commitment and closure. And that's what closing the loop is, because ambiguity is so much more insufferable.
Yeah.
There's so much unnecessary pain for everyone involved.
Right.
And so even though this is hard, I do think it is the better way.
Agreed.
But I really appreciate you sharing that, because we are annoyingly optimistic at times. We're just like, you know, where we know like what could be. We have the abundance mindset. Like, we're learning from all this. Everything's a stepping stone. There's a silver lining or a net positive to everything. But sometimes it's okay to be like, man, my heart fucking hurts.
Yeah, dude.
And I was excited about this, and I put myself out there. And I love what you said about grief. And that's why I was taking a couple notes, because I want to hit on all of it. You brought up a lot of things we haven't touched on yet in the show. And it's not all rainbows and butterflies. It's all worth it, but it's not all rainbows and puppies and kittens being best friends. It's like nature and romance and seeking love is like, it's hard. It's one of the harder things.
Yeah.
I have often wondered what the ramifications of this show are for you. And I think it's very courageous for you to put yourself out there. And I'm sure a lot of women are like, wow, he knows what he wants. He's confident, but they get to hear about these other women too. And that's like, no, and that's not fun for them to hear. Or maybe like this, she filtered herself out because she heard this. Now that's not a bad thing, because maybe it saved you guys both some pain from cutting it off earlier than later. But at the same time, I'm sure you probably wonder like, well, what if we had kept talking, you know, because maybe she was agreeable enough to change her stance on faith, or maybe we had a good connection and nothing else mattered. And so I think it's natural to ask those questions, man. And it also brings up a good point that we haven't talked about with how women weave narratives. And I actually say this as a compliment. Oftentimes guys, we're just like, give us the cut and dry. We're going to work with what we got and the evidence and things like that. Right. But women have this creative element on like a different intellectual level, where they will take 2 breadcrumbs and they'll make a loaf of sourdough. Yeah. And men can't do that. And so they weave this narrative to fill in the gaps. And so some people ask me sometimes why I'm so communicative. And I think in a previous episode, I shared that I'd rather be over communicative than under communicative. And that's what I also kind of preach for the guys that I work with, because women weave narratives when there's not clarity. And that doesn't mean that you have to talk too much or that there aren't times where you should not say something. Yeah. But if you can see that they're ever like creating a narrative to fill the space, you should probably tell them enough that that space is filled. Yeah. And I'm not saying that you messed up in this situation, because you didn't. It just kind of is adjacent to this really, it doesn't matter whether you're 30 years into marriage or this is a first date. If you can ever tell, and I think as guys, you have a sense. So when a woman's like putting A and Z together, but she skipped B through Y. Right. And she's like, okay, let me give you B. And then at least, and then it kind of cuts it off. And it's typically because they care and because they're intellectual and they want to figure something out, because, well, I guess it matters to them. That's somewhat redundant to them caring. But it's just really good to know, because like as guys, it's like, oh, my buddy said this. That's what it is. There's a starting point. I'm not going to overthink it or whatever. Right. And then with women, they're like, well, he said this and he said this one other time, but I care about this. And then this other girl said this. And it's not wrong. Like what they're saying is feasible. Is it probable? Depends on the situation. So just like a good note on communication between men and women, especially in the beginning and throughout any kind of connection or relationship, is like, that's why the truth is so important, and also being authentic, because there's less room for interpretation and weaving of narratives. And again, I don't blame women for that. It's an amazing ability. It's wildly creative. In fact, when that's happened between me and Mallory, my girlfriend, we giggle about it, because she knows. She's like, oh, I think I just kind of like made this thing up. I'm like, I'm just stunned. It's like you wrote a plot for the best mystery movie in the history of all time. It's like, so we giggle about it, but I also acknowledge it and reassure her. And so that's just a tip I wanted to throw out there. And then with the grief and the death of a relationship, man, it's funny because we haven't talked about that, whether it's on the show or outside the show.
Right.
But that's one of the things that I learned the hard way that I am most adamant about, is that you need to take the time up front to grieve the death of a relationship, or probably any death. I had to learn that the hard way when one of my friends committed suicide. I distracted myself from being like, oh, this hurts. And the hurt always comes up later, and it's had time to fester and manifest in very ugly, unproductive ways, even if that's not your intention.
That's right.
And it's the same thing for a death of what could be. At the end of a relationship, I remember the end of relationships where I tried to be like, the silver lining, I'm going to tough it up and power through. I don't need to address this. And then it addressed itself in really bad ways where I was like hesitant to commit to a relationship, or maybe dating too casually, or like really alone but unafraid to ask for help from my friends and the people who knew me. Whereas when I went through a breakup after a 2-year relationship, I spent a whole week where I canceled all my plans. And I was grateful for the relationship. I let all my resentment out for the relationship. I looked at old photos and videos. I wrote about why it needed to end and what's going on in the future. And I cried and I laughed and I was optimistic about the future. And then I thought I might be alone forever. But after that week, and a week is relatively short depending on the length of the relationship, but because I did nothing else and I canceled everything but that, even though there were reverberations of healing, I grieved it. And I didn't try to force the process. I didn't try to expedite the process. I just felt it to the fullest that was possible. And that really jump-started like the healing and the recovery process. And then nothing carried over to the dating side of things for me after that. And I think it's really important for people to realize that whether it's a 2-year relationship, a 10-year marriage, or 1 or 2 dates, or you're talking to a woman across the globe and she's about to send you some coffee from down under, you gotta like grieve whatever that is fully. And there's no scientific amount of time or protocol to grieve something fully. I think you just know it when you're doing it. And so that's a really good point that you brought up. Yeah. So we closed, the loop was closed, or you closed the loop on most things. So have we covered all of the updates for the dating life for Joel already? Or like the new matches, have you approached women in the wild? Like what else have we missed?
Yeah. I mean, at this given point, both those loops were closed. The other loop was just closed, mentally for me, because obviously there was no conversation to be had. But it was specifically of just being able to go, okay, this person's in my life here in Austin, no reaching out, no, hey, oh, let's go grab coffee or those kind of things. It's just in my mind of just going like, let me just establish I'm in a coach role. I need to close this loop. No more additional kind of effort, I guess, into it.
Yeah.
So
no further questions, Your Honor.
Yeah, that's it. And then at this point, the one who works in the church. So excited to be able to meet her. And then the only other one is the one that came back from a month ago. And seeing what's going on with her. She's 35. I think she has a kid. And she's been with the same guy for 15 years or something. So she's like brand new to the dating world, the dating scene. And so that's what I just found out. And that was the last conversation we had. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so my last question with her is like, how's it been?
Like are you ready?
Yeah. The question was like, how are your dates been? How are you feeling with dating and so on and so forth? Because I've been there before, of somebody being fresh out of a divorce and going, this is a time to heal, not a time to date. As much as I'm sure people want to, and they want to feel love and they want to feel safety and they want to have all those things, not saying it can't work out by any means. From my experience as a coach going through it myself, I would say majority of the time there's a season to heal there. And then there's a season to engage too, because I have clients who have they haven't dated in the last 3, 4, 5 years. And it's just like, oh, you're just scared to get back in. I'm like, there's a kind of a sweet spot from what I've found.
Yeah.
And so that's just something I keep in mind in terms of, putting it on the spectrum.
Yeah. That's a really, really good point about how we can swing to the extremes, but somewhere in the middle is probably, like most things, where a good approach is. I think men and women both distract themselves when they're in moments of post-relationship pain.
Yes.
And I've been there. It's tempting because I like to see it as like you've had some sort of injury, but it will heal best naturally over time.
Yes.
But instead, you take a shit ton of pills.
Yeah.
And then you're like, next thing you know, you're addicted to Oxycontin or whatever whatever it is. And I get it. It's really tempting to numb the pain.
Yeah.
But then there's some aftermath that you don't realize.
Right.
And so you almost have to fight that. And again, you don't need to be alone and hurtful. I do think you need to grieve fully, but it's a great time. And I tell this to guys all the time because I'm still bad at it. Being able to call on my friends is a really big deal. And I encourage men to do it because they're like, well, my other buddies are going through shit. I can handle it. Like, why do I don't want to bother them. I don't want to be a burden to them. But in reality, it's like people that are your friends are happy to help you if you just, give them a chance. And I mean, I did that mistake recently,
which reverse Uno time.
Reverse Uno time.
This past week, or was it a week? Last week?
Yeah.
Yeah, last week. There was shocking news that happened in my life, and it was with you and Mallory. When I pull up my Instagram page and I see a post from Mallory about Chris and I have decided to go our separate ways. And I was shook, bro. And then I see it. Then I see a text from you to our friend group about saying, hey, we made a decision, to be able to separate. And I kid you not, man, I was like, this doesn't feel right in my soul. And so, dude, I know we've talked very slightly about it, and I do feel like this is very in line with what we're talking about because, Hinge and how you guys met and dating and now being in dating. And as things progress, there's some fears that pop up because I know they do for me. I get pretty darn scared. I run off the endorphins of new and dating, but then doubt seeps in for me of like, oh, is this the right relationship and long term? And my mind starts going kind of in this anxiety role.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious. This is a live breakdown. What happened?
So for context, I have been dating Mallory for probably 7.5 months now. We met on Hinge, and that was after I ended a 2.5-year relationship.
Yeah.
And I was single for all of, what it is, like 4 months, but that relationship was overdue for ending.
That's right.
Honestly, probably 1.5 years overdue.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like my marriage was 5 years long. 3 years of it were really hard. So it's kind of easier when you see the writing on the wall. You've tried everything. You threw the kitchen sink at it and you're kind of grieving it before it was over. And I was really ready to date again when I met Mallory. Yeah. And I had 7 dates lined up because I was following everything we talk about here.
That's right.
I read my own book, which was only halfway done at the time, or maybe 2/3 of the way done, and it's publishing next month, which is exciting.
Right.
I follow all the principles I outlined, and I was like, wow, this works. Because I was, for the first time in my life, instead of taking months and months and months, it took a couple weeks to line up a bunch of dates with women I was genuinely interested in. Mallory was the second of the first dates. I canceled all the others because there was something special about her. And so I say all that for context because historically, whether it was my marriage, girlfriends of the past, the dates, whatever, I go all in all the time. Because I don't believe in half-assing that stuff, and I don't like the ambiguity. I've suffered so much at my own hand from ambiguity. So Mallory is wonderful. She is by far the best woman I've ever met, and I knew that before I decided we should break up. So ever since I met her, there's I was like, I feel like there's something missing and I don't know what it is, but I'm going to continue to discover. Because like when you choose to date someone, you're going all in for the discovery process.
That's
right. Like when you match, you're like, okay, I'm going all in for the first date. And then after the first date, you're like, okay, I'm going all in for a subsequent date. And after a few dates, you're like, I'm going all in for an exclusive relationship. And then after you're in an exclusive relationship, you have to decide that you're going all in for the foreseeable future or maybe forever.
Yeah. That's
and
right.
so Mallory, a few months into it, was like, I see a future with you. You know, I can see us having a great relationship for a long time. Kids, house, community, the whole nine.
Wow.
And that's lovely. And I didn't take that for granted. But I was like, I want to be able to meet you there.
Mm-hmm.
And so this thing that I wasn't sure if it was missing or not, I was like, I need to define this. I was like, is it the grass is greener fallacy? Is it the paradox of options? Is it something within me? Is it something about Mallory? And so I wrestled with this unknown for far too long. Now I did talk to friends about it, right? In confidence, or like even in my coaching community, where we have our group calls, I brought up some things sometimes because like I share and all the other guys share, and it's like a really positive thing to be in the front lines with everybody. And I just kept coming to this thing that like, oh, you seem like you're happy with that. I was like, I am happy. We're both happy. It's honestly the best relationship I've ever been in, but I still don't know about this unknown. And so because of the way that I am and my brain works, I fixated on this unknown. And I thought I needed evidence to see that we should be together for forever. But the problem is, I don't think we ever find that. I think we have to make the decision to create it. We have to make the decision to move forward anyway. And so because the last week before we broke up, we'd had multiple conversations. It's not like this was out of the blue, right? I've tried to tell her in tactful ways, like, here's where I think, like, here's kind of what I'm stuck on. This is what I'm worried about for the future. And she takes all these conversations like a champ.
Yeah, of course.
She's really the best woman.
She is.
And there's nothing wrong with our relationship. Not that any relationship is perfect, but like, I can see our future. And I've never been able to see a future like that. But I wasn't scared of the future. I was scared of making the wrong decision because it would not only impact me, but it would impact her. She wants to be a wife. She wants to be a mother. Those are two things that are very important to her. And I didn't want to risk taking those away from her. So I would rather be safe and cut her loose to have that with someone else than to waste her time. And because I would feel so guilty about that.
Yeah.
And so we had a conversation and then we took a week to think about it. And during that week, I did not call on any of my friends. And that was a big mistake. And then I couldn't find that piece of evidence. So when we came back together, I was like, I have to let you go because I care about you. And she was not happy about it. She didn't lash out or anything, but she was like, I think you're throwing something really good away. But in my mind, I was so hooked on this like high horse, honorable, like I'm doing right by you. You're going to see it eventually, which I've been right about that in the past.
Sure.
But the difference was, I think I overcorrected from these other relationships where I stayed too long. And there was nothing wrong with this one. And I saw the future and it's never an absolute vision. And then once I stepped down that path and really thought about not being with her, she was only gone for like a few hours. She left, she was driving back to San Antonio from Austin. I was on the trail with the dogs. And I don't talk about my faith a lot on here in general because I have faith, but I like people to be able to see it. I don't like to be explicit about it.
Sure.
Or to get that feeling.
Yeah.
But I said a prayer and I was like, I know I'm stubborn and I've been wrong before, but now I'm never about a big decision. I'm feeling a lot of regret. Even when there were big decisions I was unsure of, I never experienced regret. I was like, if I screwed up, tell me and I will act on it. So I'm on the trail with the dogs and there's this Asian guy with a bunch of tattoos and piercings on the phone. And he, like, almost immediately after I had this prayer and I'm out on the trail with the dogs trying to clear my head, he says on the phone, Chris, everybody makes mistakes. And I was like, what? And then he said something else that was uncanny. And I saw this storm rolling in to Austin. And I just got hit with this metaphor, like the city of Austin is beautiful from Lady Bird Lake. There's a storm coming in. It's like, well, if it ain't broke, you know, And so then I turned on a dime, took the dogs back, drove to San Antonio. On the way, I said, Mallory, hey, pack a bag. I'm picking you up. And because I'm not one that asks for signs or looks for signs, but my brothers both called me at the same time, which this has never happened in the history of forever. Like, they don't meddle in my stuff. We love each other. We're close, but we don't talk on the phone much, and we don't do three-way calls. But they were both like, hey, and my sister-in-law too. They're like, hey, when you told us about this is the only time that Chris Bates has ever made a decision he was unsure of. So we wanted to check in on you. And so if that wasn't enough signs, and I don't want to outsource my agency here, but it was indicative of something. And once I decided that I didn't need to know completely, that all I had to do was focus on that very vivid vision of future with Mallory, I was at peace for the first time in months. I'm still at peace now. I feel a little bashful, or not bashful, a little goofy. Because it's like, it went out to our friends. It was out on socials.
Good.
But maybe there's some accountability.
Yeah,
maybe it helped me act quickly.
Good.
Plus, if I had waited too long, she wouldn't have been open to it. Like, part of my mind was like, oh, I'll wait a few weeks. I'll play it cool. Then I'll see if we can get back together. But she told me if I had done that, the answer would have been no. So it's good that I acted as fast as I did, even though I didn't know that. And yeah, man, I'm just like, I'm very grateful because this is the first time in my life, lots of friends and family, after I made the decision, were like, you were being stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, dude. I'm gonna be the first one because I talked to you about this on the phone with Mallory in the car. When I saw that, I immediately thought, oh dang, dude, Mallory broke up with Chris.
Oh yeah. And what did it remind you of?
It reminded me of Keely and Roy Kent.
And Ted Lasso.
When
That's
everybody's
so
like,
accurate.
walking in and everybody's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry she broke up with you.
And he's like, no, I broke up with her.
And everybody's like, what?
You idiot.
That was literally me. I was like, oh, because I didn't get your audio message until later that day. So I saw all of that. And then I listened to your audio message that you sent in the morning saying that it's a 60-40 chance that, we stay back together, or this is going to work. And I was like, wait, you're making the decision on this? I'm like, she didn't break up with you? And it's like, that's just where my mind was. Cause I was like, I've seen the way that you've acted around her, that there had to be something wild that happened in her life for her to like, all of a sudden, I was waiting for like some crazy drama story, right?
Yeah.
Like she actually was already married, right? And she had 3 kids, right? And she was cutting it off with you. Yeah, I mean, I was ready for all the drama.
Yeah.
And I just found out that you called it, and I was just like, that's not right. That's not right. And so glad to hear, because I was going to be on the phone with you the next day. That was my plan. I texted you later on that night, man, just letting you know I'm thinking of you. Then wake up, see that text message at 12:30 in the morning or something. And I was just like, everything's right in the world again.
Yeah.
And kudos to you, man. Like I said, I tell my clients this quite often. You don't know what's around the corner until you take the corner. And so you didn't know where you were at until you took the action.
Yep.
And nothing to feel silly about or goofy about. And that's why I said, good. I'm glad I got put on social media, right? Because that's your corner. Now you turn the corner. And the way that you do things in your life, you and I are different, which is the good and the yin and yang. You're like, hey, let's sign up for CrossFit and let's go 5 days a week. I'm like, hey, let's get a 10-pack and go once a week. I'm more of like, hey, I'm a marathon runner. I do ultra marathon runs, right? You're like, hey, let's go now and jam hard fast, right? And it's a good balance. And I believe that's what needed to happen. Is that you need to be on social media and you need to do it that fast. And then you need to turn around that fast as well. Where I believe I would have been a little bit more different in that approach. And I think it could worked out in the same manner.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of you for for recognizing that and taking action, and the authority that you took in that is something that all men and women should listen and be able to take action on. Is like, listen to your authority and then take action. Your gut knows best.
Yeah.
And you can make whatever decision. You can stumble straight on your face and then go, I stumbled straight on my face. I made totally the wrong move. And now this is the direction I'm going, which is so much better than hiding and like, oh, that's just so embarrassing. Am I really going to come back on this? Yeah. I applaud you for that.
Thanks, man. You know, the first person to say, oh, maybe this is how it needed to happen was Mallory. This woman, not only is she like beautiful and playful and supportive, and we just have our relationship is one never ending conversation. Even though we're 7 months in, we talk for on average an hour a night when she's in San Antonio, not in Austin. And we tell each other everything. And she's so wise on top of being this like really beautiful feminine presence. And I would try not to cry talking about it, but she's really wonderful.
She's incredible.
And I feel really stupid, but I give myself some grace too for the reasons that you said. And this is really good for me because I used to care what people thought too much. And this is a stepping stone and flexing the muscle of like, I need to do what's right for me, and the people who care about me and know me, they'll understand. And who cares what other people think? You know, I know we hear that, we say it, but until you've experienced embarrassment in your social circles and you're like, you know what, there's more important things. Because I know that the most important thing to me is what my inner circle thinks and the future that I see with me and Mallory. And so it's been really good for me to be like, you know what, I need to get a little stronger in this area. I need to care a little less. I don't mind telling people what happened, but I don't owe them an explanation. I don't owe them anything. But who I do owe is the people who care about Mallory. I have to show them what I meant, what I said. You know, I have to show Mallory I meant what I said. I need to show myself that I don't need to live with ambiguity. I can choose to cut that piece out because it's not important to us. You know? And so it was really amazing. And I think if there's a takeaway for anyone listening, it's like every commitment is a decision. Even the commitment to match with someone on an app or go on a first date, to stay in a relationship even when it gets hard, to consider marrying someone. You know, it's like these are all, it's the same thing, but what would you say? The intensity of the decision escalates with each phase of this commitment evolution. And it gets hard. And it's not necessarily because people are bad people or that they have commitment issues that they hesitate. It's because the modern world is a tough place. And if you care about people, you care about that decision. And I'm not trying to defend what I did, but I wouldn't change it.
No,
I wouldn't change it for anything. And I'm just really grateful that like Mallory gives me grace, that my friends understand me, and that everybody cares. I don't think I've ever received so much support, but also like you're being stupid at the same time in my entire life. And what I really felt from that is like, wow, people care about me.
Big time.
More than I thought. People care about Mallory more than I thought.
Big time.
People care about us more than I thought. And I'm not saying you should go out there asking for attention. But it's like, there's so many silver linings from this, man. And I think like we can all be paralyzed by indecision at times. And I think all we can do is give other people the grace that's to do when they approach indecision. And also do our best to piss or get off the pot. You know?
I agree, man. And I just want you to know, dude, that I know you see the embarrassment as something that's like a drawback, but I would also encourage you that we've all felt embarrassment in your ability to be open and vulnerable, just like what Wife and Bust is all about, is being able to other people recognize like, I've done embarrassing things before, and to feel the embarrassment and be courageous enough to state it gives other people actual courage as well. And this is what Wife and Bust is all about, is being able to go, hey, I'm going to put my heart out on the line, and I'm going to show you that I'm human too, and that I'm going to stumble, and we're going to make the courageous decision to stand back up. And you made the courageous decision to stand back up. And I think you should recognize that there's going to be more people encouraged by this, way more than people that are going to cast judgment.
I appreciate that. And it's been easy doing this so far because you're the one who's being vulnerable, and I get to like be your little dating Sherpa.
Yeah, that's right.
You know,
yeah,
it's easy to be the Sherpa, but it's hard to be the person that's like the focus is on you. This is like terrain that's new, and it's just so it's. I feel like it's good for me to kind of meet you there a little bit, and maybe there'll be more of that in the future. Who knows? This is really interesting ending to an episode.
Yeah, it is,
because like typically you got a bunch of dates lined up. We've not really talked about my relationship too much, and I think it's really good because nowadays there's all these cliffhangers and clickbaity stuff, and it's like sometimes there's lulls in this, but we're not going to stop. I think that's an important thing. We've committed to this much like I've committed to my relationship. So there's going to be, even though most podcasts die, over 90% after 10 episodes, we're not. So I'm excited to see when you come out of the slump. What happens with this 2-timer rule?
Yep.
When do Mallory and I get married and have babies? Is it next week?
Oh man,
Is it 7 years from now?
I hope to.
2 weeks?
How's about anywhere in between 1 week and 7 years? I'm in.
Yeah. Well, it's an honor to be on the journey with you, man.
Yeah, me too, dude.
And I'm excited to see how this episode was impactful for people.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows what happens next, dude?
Yeah. Leave a comment if it moved you and you feel encouraged by this.
Yeah, and if you have anything that you want us to address, we also talked about doing kind of like maybe every 10 episodes a Q&A from people, because there's a lot of people have watched, like it seems like people watch it and they're not interested, or they watch and they watch every episode.
Yeah.
So if you've been watching for a while, we would love to hear from you. Give us whether it's a comment or a question, because that would be fun to do an episode to hear from Joel and Chris about like what we think about your dating world, your dating challenges, and anything that we haven't, because there's a ton we probably haven't even thought to touch on. So we're just cracking the egg open, baby. No yoke.
No yoke.
We're not yoking around.
Oh my gosh, here we go. All right, guys.
All right.
Till next time.
See y'all.